Hello friends, hobbyists and Middle-earth strategy battle gamers, and welcome to this very special video. It's my first one up here on YouTube, first one on my own doing, at least anyway. I've been in a couple of other people's battle reports and hobby vlogs and things like that, but I've got into the hobby a bit more now and I'm setting out on my own, and the news I want to bring you is my reflection really on the Desolation of Stockport, the recent tournament that I attended. So today, as you can see, I'm going to be going through my army, talking about some of the strengths of it, some of the weaknesses, and how it performed really. And I think what kind of qualifies me now to talk about this is that I've started doing a bit better at these tournaments. This is my fifth one and I got 4 wins and 3 losses, so I've finally broached that kind of win-loss barrier and moved up to I think myself now as a kind of more comfortable player with the hobby. Still lots to learn, but kind of getting there now and I can sort of hold my own. So I'll talk you through my army list and yeah, give some recommendations, some thoughts and some feedback on how it all went. So I had 600 points to spend on pure Minas Tirith and I went for 2 warbands. Leader Boromir with horse, banner and shield, and he's leading 5 warriors of Minas Tirith with shields, 4 citadel guards with spears, and then 6 guards of the Fountain Court with spear and shield. And then the second warband led by Faramir, and he has got an armoured horse, heavy armour, shield and lance, so all in on the Faramir. And then he's leading 5 warriors of Minas Tirith with shields, 3 citadel guards with bows, and 7 rangers with spears, you can see there in the back. So 32 models in total, maxed out both of their warbands, just went for the 2 brothers, and yeah, 4 wins and 3 losses. Now the MVP really of this whole army wasn't any one individual, it was this thing here. The Banner of Minas Tirith. Boromir and the Banner of Minas Tirith was one of the best combinations I could have hoped for in this tournament. And the reason it's so good, and it's got a few reasons it's so good, but it buffs your troops. It gives every warrior of Gondor within 6 inches a +1 to their fight value. Now if you think Gondor with the elite troops, we've got the Guards of the Fountain Court who are fight 4, Citadel Guards who are fight 4, and Rangers who are fight 4. You can have basically a back rank of fight 4 and a front rank of defense 6 with your warriors. And with the increase of the fight from the Banner of Minas Tirith, those fight 4s go up to fight 5. Fight 5 on your regular troops. Boromir also gets the bonus as well to himself, so he goes up to fight 7. Unfortunately, other heroes don't get it, so Faramir would just still be on fight 5. And I'll talk about him in a minute, but Boromir, absolutely amazing. So I played 7 games at the tournament, and I was looking back through my my stat cards that I keep from every game. On the first day, Boromir did not even suffer a single point of fate being lost or having to be spent. No fate points spent, no wounds in 4 games, and he only actually died once, and that was against Gothmog's Legion. So very, very hard to take down, very hard to kill, very, very sturdy. A lot of people were just saying, how do I deal with this guy? He just doesn't go down. And largely it's thanks to the banner, and actually improvements in the new version with the banner. So this is my banner on foot on a very nice base here. And shield on the back and the banner. Horn of Gondor as well. So the thing with the banner being that he can go to fight 7, pretty good. That's always how it was. But it used to be that it gave 3 inches either side in the increased fight bonus to the troops. Now it's 6. So if you just think about the range that that could spread to, rather than it just being a couple of guys either side of him, it's now a lot more guys that can fit in that 6-inch bubble either side of him. So it's effectively a 12-inch circle with him in the middle of it. That is helping a lot with your killing power. Even just not getting killed. So imagine you're fighting stuff like Uruk-hai warriors, Uruk-hai berserkers. They're going to be at fight 4. So if you're going in against them and you're next to Boromir, you're fight 5. So you're winning those roll-offs. with your base Fight 4 Minas Tirith troops, but buffed to Fight 5 because of the flag. You're drawing with elves who are Fight 5. You're drawing even with, say, Uruk-hai heroes like Rescue. If he's on your normal troops, you've got your warrior at the front, your Citadel Guard spear sporting at the back, who's Fight 4 but buffed to Fight 5. You're drawing then and having roll-offs against those heroes. Even, you know, the likes of Gothmog, who's Fight 5. So in terms of taking out regular troops, and even heroes, even sort of minor to mid-level heroes, your Minas Tirith guys are going to be, one, able to hold their own, and two, able to kill a few. In my first game I was up against Thorin's company, against 9 of them, killed 8 of them. Thorin was the only one that I didn't kill. Because against the Fight 6 guys I could send in Boromir and Faramir striking up. Against the Fight 5 guys I could just send in the troops and outnumber them, whittle their might down, eventually get some rolls in my favour, trap them and kill them. And against the Fight 4 and 3 guys I was just higher. So it is a very good way of buffing your troops. Now, another improvement that has been made to it, in the old version, couldn't take a shield with it. It actually said you can model the miniature with a shield, but it doesn't get the bonus. Now it does, so I've got a shield on both of them. So I've got his round shield on the foot version, just slung that on the back and strapped him up so he can hold it on, and then a sort of knight's gold and white shield there on mounted version. And the other advantage is over the previous version, it's been made 10 points cheaper. So in terms of things that have been made better in the new version, people can talk about the Balrog and things like that. I think the Banner of Minas Tirith is the biggest improved thing in the new version of the game. 10 points cheaper, 3 points bigger, 3 inches bigger effect, and Boromir can take a shield with it as well, so he can be Fight 7 and Defense 7. Now, the one thing he will struggle at is killing power, because it doesn't give him a lance. He doesn't get any penalties for holding the banner, by the way. He doesn't get the -1. Does count as a banner for victory points, which is good. But the other alternative to Boromir, and I've got him kind of not quite finished here, is the version with the lance, which on foot would just be your regular Boromir with sword and shield. Now the version with the lance is going to be Fight 6, base, no banner to buff him up, no banner to give himself a reroll, but against that lance, so he gets +1 to wound. Again, that's only on the charge and it's only on horseback, so could be limited if you get charged, you're having to spend might to do heroic moves. If he gets knocked off his horse, which happened a couple of times, the lance is gone. If he gets knocked off his horse with the banner, he's still got the banner, he's still got the reroll to his dual rolls, he's still got the +1 fight. So the banner for survivability, remember 7 games I played in this tournament, he was only killed once, and I think in all the other games he only took 2 wounds after fate. First 4 games, no wounds inflicted, no fate even having to be spent. So very, very durable. He'll give your opponents a lot of headaches because he won't go down. Now, the one slight weakness I had with this army was killing power in terms of killing heroes. In terms of killing troops, I was fine with the Fight 5 and the extra men in there. But in terms of killing heroes, in the whole tournament I only killed 10. 8 of those were in the Thorin's company game, so in the other 6 games I only actually killed 2 heroes. Now one of those was the designated hero in Fog of War, so I got the full victory points for that. But otherwise I killed a Madril, but nothing much else. Boromir lacked the killing power, I think, to kill especially the big heroes who I was putting him in against. Either he was having to spend the might to strike up still, because even though he had higher fight to start with, they would still strike up anyway, so he would as well. To win dual rolls, there'd be times maybe where he would be outnumbered, he'd run out of might. It was just hard, I think, to kill heroes. Not really sure why, possibly the lack of the lance and the bonuses to killing power. Although Faramir had that, but again, looking back through my stat sheets, Faramir, he got killed an awful lot, and he didn't really do a heck of a lot. He didn't do as much as I thought he would do. He would sometimes get bogged down. He would get a couple of kills just because I wanted him to do something. He might find himself against a couple of opponents and then I would heroic combat and then be able to move into a couple of others. But apart from that, I think all he really did was kind of look good and give people a bit of a talking point. Because people were saying, who is this Minas Tirith hero you've got? Well, I've modelled my Faramir based on the quote that Denethor says in the films, where he says, "Ever you wish to appear lordly like a king of old." And I thought, what would a king of old look like? So he's got this kind of majestic aquamarine colour to make it look as if he's one of the Númenóreans who came from across the sea, that kind of greeny blue colour. The shield that's like the Faramir, Prince of Ithilien, an armoured horse, lance, etc. Lots of gold motifs on there. So, nice to look at, but didn't really do much. Something else that didn't really do much, talking about weaknesses, the shooting. I have 30 warriors and I've taken 10 bows, so I'll just move these warriors out of the way so you can see the rangers. So I had 7 rangers and 3 citadel guards with bows. Rangers hitting on 3s, but with strength 2. Citadel guard hitting on 4s, but with strength 3, and bodyguard. The bodyguard's kind of useful on the citadel guard in that you can kind of leave them on objectives at the back or charge them in. I did charge them in a couple of times to tie up, I think, Celeborn, one of the terror-causing elves, for a few turns. That actually worked really well. But I could have done that with one of my fighting corps or other guys as well. So, in terms of shooting, I didn't really get much shooting off for a couple of reasons. I think one, which is part of a bigger reason I'll come on to, is scenery restrictions and line of sight restrictions. When you're planning your army, you've got to think that you're going to be playing in tournaments on boards that have a lot of scenery on them. And even if they don't have a lot of scenery, enough to block a clear line of sight. And what I found was I wasn't able to get that many shots off. And then in the times the way you do shoot, you might, hit with half of them and then out of those, not do a lot. I did outshoot the elves, actually, in that same game with the locking up the Celeborn. Managed to get 2 or 3 kills, but generally I don't think the shooting really was that helpful. Lines close, people run off to get objectives, scenery gets in the way. And so I think in the future I'm not going to maximise my shooting. And I've come on as well to what my new list would be if I were to run this 600 point list again. But just on that scenery point, another thing I found was that I couldn't get my full front line in with all the scenery there. Because imagine these guys aren't at the back, they're all part of a front line as well. They might get dropped off somewhere to guard an objective or something, but you end up with quite a wide front line if you're having 2 full warbands of 15, and it's a lot to deploy as well. And if you imagine you have a house here, some other thing here, this is all that you can fight in as a sort of front line. You might have some woods that are difficult terrain that you have to go through, etc. And what I found was I had too many troops stood around at the back. So I would have a front line of maybe my best troops, and then a few warriors just stood around at the back. I might end up with going all fountain cord at the front, backed up with citadel guard, because my warriors didn't have spears, and then warriors standing around at the back not doing anything. And they add to your break point, but apart from that, they can't really get into the action. And if you think for the cost of 5 or 6 guys, you could have another hero in there with 3 might. And this is another reason I had a bit of a problem. Only having 2 heroes limited me on what I could do regarding spending might. Now, Boromir is great because he's got 6 might, but you end up spending that 6 might very quickly because you've got so much of it. You think, oh, I'll spend it on this, I'll spend it on that. And what you would do in an ideal world, and what I saw other people doing to me, is that they would have a 3rd hero, sort of mid, about 50, 60 point hero with a couple of might, maybe even 3 might, hanging around in the battle, possibly not really doing much, but there just to call heroic moves. So that Boromir doesn't have to use any of his might to call a heroic move. Say, priority has gone to the evil side here. If they were to move, Vrasku could charge, and then Boromir doesn't get his extra attack, doesn't get his knockdown, etc. We get priority, we can charge, extra attack, knock to the ground, much better chance of doing some wounds. So, in this situation, Boromir, or Faramir if he's close enough, would have to spend one of their points of might, but then they don't have the point of might to strike up, to adjust a roll, to adjust a wound, etc. If you have some sort of little might bank on the go, like a Madril standing there, he can do the heroic move a little bit. Boromir moves as part of it. Boromir's not had to spend any might, and he's still got all his might left for strikes and resolving the duel rolls. So, and I'll show you in a minute what my revised list would be at 600 points. I'd recommend not so much shooting, not so much troops, and an extra might bank in there to get the heroic moves off. And I think that would give me a bit more killing power. Obviously, it would give me less guys to stand on objectives and a lower break point, so I could be broken earlier. I found myself getting broken times when we both got broken a turn or two after my opponents, even though we've been killing a similar amount of guys. So more guys does help, but more might would help as well. So it's kind of a trade-off. You don't have so many guys for objectives, but in terms of the number of objective games that you can come up where you need guys to stand on objectives versus just needing might in general to win the main battle, I'd go for the might now in the future. Okay, so this is my revised list. What I would take if I was to do it again, this is by no means better than the previous one, but it's something where I'd apply a few theories that I've learned. So, firstly, we've got Boromir with a warband of 10. So he's got 5 warriors of Minas Tirith with spears and 5 guards of the Fountain Court. Then we have Hurin the Tall, Warden of the Keys, on horse, with 2 warriors of Minas Tirith with shield, 2 warriors of Minas Tirith with shield and spear, 2 guard of the Fountain Court with shield and spear, and 2 citadel guard. And then Madril with 2 rangers with bows, 4 rangers with spears, and a knight. So, why the changes? First of all, the biggest change is we've taken out Faramir and we've put in Hurin. So this Hurin is 20 points cheaper than Faramir and actually has just as good, if not better, killing power. So they've got the same fight value, the same strength, the same attacks, the same might, same everything. But Faramir gets a lance, whereas Hurin gets a Master Forged hand and a half sword, which I've not got on the foot model yet. I'm going to stick it on once I've painted it. But what that means is he can go two-handed without penalty, and so he always gets the +1 to wound. Always. Whether he's on a horse, whether he's on foot, whether he's charged, whether he's been charged, he always gets +1 to wound. Faramir, on the other hand, only gets +1 to wound if he's charged whilst on horseback. Hurin gets +1 to wound all the time. So, in terms of killing power, he's better than Faramir. He's not got as high defense, he can't take a shield, etc, etc. And his special rule in terms of being around Aragorn or Denethor won't factor into this because I don't have them in the list. But he will be helpful in terms of his special rule of to get victory points for killing the leader, you also have to kill him. So in games where you get victory points for killing the leader, if the opponent managed to kill Boromir, but Hurin was still alive, they wouldn't get the points. I believe they'd only get the points for wounding the leader, but not for killing them. The theory is that in the interim between one leader of Gondor dying and the next taking over, Hurin kind of handles affairs of the state until the next leader is appointed. So the leadership kind of on the battlefield as well passes to him. So you have to kill him as well. So neat little rule, may or may not come in useful. I don't know, there's probably times where your hero can die. What it would mean is I could send my Boromir in a bit more aggressively, because the opponent obviously has got to kill 2 people rather than 1. Obviously if Boromir died though, everything would go kind of down the toilet and Hurin might end up getting killed next. But you never know. It might mean you can play a bit more aggressively with Boromir and get some more kills that way, get some more hero kills that way. He'll get some more kills because he can always be getting +1 to wound. Just an interesting model. And another, well, really only the second Minas Tirith hero in that kind of 100-point level. We've got a lot around the 50 to 60, like Cirion, Ingold, Irolas, Knight of the White Tower, Madril, and then your big ones, Boromir, Gandalf, and Aragorn. But in terms of the mid-level, it was only ever Faramir. And now Hurin's come along, and I think it's a lot better. 20 points cheaper, depending on how you cut out your Faramir, maybe 10 points cheaper. And yeah, the Master Forged hand and a half sword I think will come in quite handy, as well as his special rules. You notice I put spears on the front rank guys here. That is because if I'm ever in a situation where I'm fighting a terror-causing enemy, I'll simply deploy this way around with the guards of the Fountain Court in the front so that they can charge. and the spearmen at the back so that they can spear support. When I just had regular warriors, I couldn't do that. So if I'm fighting something where it's not terror causing, I'd probably send in the regular troops first and keep the elite troops at the back, so that if something is going to get killed, it's my regular warriors, and then if something's going to be still hanging around at the end, it's going to be my more elite troops with high defense, bodyguards. They can pass their courage tests on their own as long as their leader's still alive. I don't think that would pass to Hurin. I think if your leader dies, they no longer have anyone to bodyguard. That would be interesting to have a chat about, but I don't think that passes over. So I've done pretty much the same thing with the middle warband, apart from the fact that I would never put these defense 5 Citadel Guards in the front rank, so they're just behind some shield guys, and then same here, we've got 2 more Fountain Court with 2 more shield and spear guys, so they can swap around. If I was just fighting these Uruk-hai, I'd probably go with the shield and spear guys, although saying that, Uruk-hai at strength 4, they'd have a harder time killing defense 7 than defense 6. Against Vraska, actually, you get at strength 5. Wouldn't make a difference. And then finally, Madril, he brings his 3 might, he brings his bonus to your deployment. So you add +1 to your rolls, say to come on in things like Reconnoiter. And you can modify where you're deploying games like Hold Ground, where you come on all different sides of the board. He can modify his own rolls and the rolls of your other warbands. So if you put Madril on first, and then you roll for Hurin or for Boromir, depending on what you get, you could then modify it. So if you got something you didn't like, give it a +1 or a -1 so that you get one of the other deployment zones. So you can either deploy together or deploy kind of on one edge and an adjacent edge to kind of have 2 sides of the board that you kind of come on from. And as well, he's got Heroic March. That's one thing my army didn't have before. And you hear a lot, I've heard it a lot in kind of podcasts like Green Dragon and things like that, talking about Heroic March. Now, I never really bothered about Heroic March, never really thought it was that interesting. But actually, in terms of getting to objectives, getting things like the Heirloom, getting things like the Seize the Prize, getting up the board in Reconnoiter, having a march could be quite handy. So I paired him with a knight as well, so that the knight can get the boost off the first march and go 15 inches. By that point, he'd be too far away to get a second one. He'd already be ahead. But that could just slingshot, say, a knight to an objective, so I could hop off first and try and get it, something like that. And he brings his 3 might. There's a few other 3 might heroes. You've got Kyrian, who has courage boosts against terror-causing enemies, and obviously he's armoured and has got shield and things like that. And the new Ingold I've got as well with the Hurin set. Now, he's only fight 4, and his thing is all about the shield wall. Now, obviously, I'm not gone for much of a shield wall, because a shield wall would mean pretty much going with Warriors of Minas Tirith in the front and the back. So then you're all at fight 3. If you're near the banner, you're all at fight 4, but there's no elite troops to make it fight 5. So, yeah, it can lock down a part of the battlefield, but he's not got the striking up capabilities or the fight value, which is really the advantage of this army with Boromir. So it's kind of built around the idea that your fight value is going to be increased. So you want to be as high as possible to start with anyway. So we've got some rangers who, depending on the way the battle goes and the way it's set up, could sit and do some shooting, or they could run in later and after a few guys have died, put in some more spear supports. Or even something like Reconnoiter, just let the 2 warbands of fighty guys go in the middle and try and go around the back. So you notice I've got a lot smaller warbands. Should be able to fit in between the scenery, not have any guys left over, get everybody in who I want to get in, get these 2 in, and have these guys either marching up or shooting or coming in supporting, where Madril can, if he's within 6 inches, obviously uses might just as a bank of might to call heroic moves if I ever lose priority. So then he's spent his might, but then Boromir can come in and get his charges off. Hurin can come in and get his charges off, and they've still got their own might left for doing other things. So that is what I do, guys, to improve this army in the future. Next big tournament is going to be Ardacon 2019 in Manchester. So I'm going to run Minas Tirith again, 750 points, but I'm going to go not with Boromir. After saying all of that, I want to try something slightly different. So rather than Boromir as my leader I'm going to go with Aragorn, LSR. Need to paint him up. And I'm going to go with Hurin as well, so he'll get his bonus from being within range of Aragorn, get lots of rerolls. So he'll get a reroll off Aragorn's banner effect, and he'll get another reroll off his own effect from being inspired by Aragorn. And I've just converted up, if I can find it, my own Irolas model. So I've taken a Citadel Guard, cut him up a bit. This helmet is from the base of the old Two Towers Fell Beast, and then just giving him a hood. So I'll paint up all the edges of this in gold, so all my Citadel Guards, they're just black and white. Irolas, I'll paint him up, give him some gold edging, say to his cloak and to his skirt under here, and might drop in a Madril as well, so I've got 4 heroes, so that would be my leaders for my 750 point Ardcon army, so I'll see how that goes in the summer, but for now, that's how I'd modify the army, and I'll just leave you with some final thoughts. Okay, so final thoughts. If you're getting into Minas Tirith, if you're getting into tournament play, have a think about some of the things I've said. Have a think about not having too many troops in there, getting a mix of heroes in for your might and for your heroic actions, and definitely think about Boromir and the Banner of Minas Tirith to buff those troops. I found it's a great way of playing Minas Tirith. The previous kind of fashionable way to play it was go for the low rank heroes like Beregond, Madril, when they could all lead 12, and do a kind of horde attack and just go for sheer numbers. But I think Boromir is so good now, and the troops get such a good buff from him, that you can play a more kind of balanced / elite army. Yeah, just make sure you get your other heroes in there as well. Faramir, I would not recommend, having used him. He barely got any kills, died quite a lot. Give Hurin a go, or give some of the sort of 65, 55 point heroes a go to back up Boromir. I know I faced a Gondor army that used that and beat me directly and went on to finish higher than me, so maybe give that a go. Yeah, and get yourselves some of these guys. So you've got your warriors and your Fight 4 guys to back them up. Pick with it whichever flavour of Fight 4 you like. The Rangers, the Citadel Guard, or the Guards of the Fountain Court. Guards of the Fountain Court, I think, are brilliant models. I've converted mine not to be holding the spear two-handed, but to hold it one-handed, and then to hold a Numenor shield in the other arm, which took a bit of drilling so that the shield would go in at a different angle and sit flush with the shield. Really nice to paint these. So I've used a couple of different golds, that lighter gold on the wings, and then a kind of shinier, darker gold for some of the detailing and some of the things on the shield, like the icons and the sort of crown motif on the helmet. Really fun to drop in, make your army look really cool. You can have a lot of fun with what is quite a kind of stoic, Third Age, we're getting beaten down by Mordor army, and just make them look really cool and bring back, you know, the greatness of Gondor. Boromir, you know, the city has been reclaimed, we're back, Boromir's leading us, the good times are back in Gondor. And yeah, very good army to take to a tournament. I've previously rolled with these guys, the Isengard guys, and even though on the face of it, the troops are a bit better, higher strength, not done as well. So even though they're fun to collect, I actually found Minas Tirith can be actually quite punchy, and I saw quite a few Minas Tiriths at the tournament doing fairly well. So if you're thinking about Minas Tirith, if you're new to the game, by no means a bad army to go with. It's really fun, we've got a lot of great heroes, a lot of iconic heroes, and you can make them really work. If you got this thing, the banner of Minas Tirith, works really well, guys. So just general tips for tournaments. If you've not been to one before, get yourself signed up, get yourself on the GBHL Facebook page, search for a tournament in your area, or even just search for people in your area and recommend a sort of gaming centre where you could bring your army down. Doesn't have to be painted if you're just playing a casual game, and meet up and have a few games. Get to know the scenarios. I think the more you play the scenarios, the more you know what to expect, because you can go wrong in deployment and then have a very bad 2 hours ahead of you if you just deploy too far forward, too far back, not together. you're not following the objectives. One of the things I really tried to do in this tournament was play the board, play my opponent, play my objective, and I was really trying this time, not just to go in there, throw some dice and see what happens, but to try and deny my opponent things. I did a lot of denial play, a lot of trying to shut my opponent down, and so a lot of my wins were very, very marginal, very, very draw it out, get in the right position, eke it out. By no means massively dominant, but I kind of got ahead, got my nose in front, and kind of managed it out, pulling off every trick in the book in some cases. In some cases, I was breaking myself, running guys at the enemy to break myself to end the game whilst I was sat on objectives. So you learn tricks like that the more you go along. The first few tournaments I went to, I just ended up on the lower tables with other people who had really cool armies, but not the most competitive armies. And we chatted, oh, you know, I love your little leaves on your base, and you know, thanks very much. I put a lot of effort into it, and really, really like cool, fun, interesting vibes from a lot of cool people with a lot of great collections. This tournament completely different. So I was really going for it. I didn't really get so much of that. Saw some cool armies, met some great people, and between games, you know, there was a lot of chat about each other's armies, but during the games, it was really intense and really made me think about the game in a way that I hadn't before, and kind of took it to another level, made me sweat quite a lot, made me think a lot, very demanding mentally, but I did that because I'd gone through 4 tournaments before this where I was just throwing myself into it and seeing what happens, and kind of learning by losing, learning by getting the odd wins. Of course, you know, the way that tournaments work, if you lose a couple of games, you'll end up against someone else who's lost a couple of games. So your games will become easier, and you'll learn, guys, from each other, and from kind of ending up against people who are there to have fun, and you can have a game and get a win, and you go, oh, I see how I won that. I'll try and apply that a bit more next time. So get into it, guys. We've got new rules, new profiles that are going to be set in stone pretty much now for the next few years, as far as I can see. So don't have to worry about any rule changes or anything like that. The rules you learn now and the armies you get good with now are the ones you're going to be using, the ones you're going to be bringing with you for the next few years of tournaments. And yeah, give it a go. Give it a go, because I did, and I struggled at the first place. I was kind of getting demotivated. I was painting all these Minas Tirith guys, and they were dying left, right, and centre. But now I've got the hang of it. Now the army's come good, and I'm really enjoying it. So bring on Ardacon. I'll hopefully bring you more videos, maybe an Isengard showcase like this Minas Tirith showcase. And yeah, we'll see how the Wardens of Gondor and LSR do at Ardacon. We've seen how the Brothers have done, Brothers of Destruction, Boromir and Faramir. Let's see how the new Wardens of Gondor do at Ardacon. So until then, maybe I might have a couple of videos before, but definitely a vlog for Ardacon. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.